Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the OK Grognard Show. This is Saturday, June 27th, 2020, 9:30 a.m. Central in beautiful Lake Geneva, Wisconsin. Well, we are on the fifth of our Ray Harryhausen DM review series. Today we're looking at the seventh voyage of Sinbad. Now, this is the first of the sword and sandal movies. This is where I think he really comes into his own. I mean, technically comes into his own, in my opinion, on 20 Million Miles to Earth with the creature Ymir. But really, I think this is it. I mean, we had the animated short, Tulips Shall Grow, and then Mighty Joe Young was his first movie, but credited as a technician, well, uncredited actually, but worked on it as a technician. We had The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, and It Came from Beneath the Sea in 53 and 55. Mighty Joe Young was in 49, so there's a gap there. There's a 4-year gap. A couple of years between the Sea Monster Tentacle films, and then Earth versus the Flying Saucers, 56, 57. Finally, the fifth big picture where he's credited as technical effects created by is 20 Million Miles to Earth. So that is a fifth big picture. That's in 57. So that's a full 8 years after he started working as a technician in Hollywood. It's followed by The Strange World of Planet X, some visual effects that he went uncredited for, but they came out in the same year, in 1958, as The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. First of, I think, 5 sword and sandal movies, if we count all 3 Sinbads and the 2 Greek myth movies, Jason and the Argonauts, and his last film, Clash of the Titans. But this one really puts him on the map, and it's really in his wheelhouse. He also, uncredited, worked on the story for this. So, of course, he's bastardizing Aladdin and his lamp from 1001 Arabian Nights. But there it is. This is kind of the career of Harryhausen, is to constantly be working on movies that are either original sci-fi scripts or fantasy films that are utilizing work that's in the public domain. Three Worlds of Gulliver, all the Sinbads, of course the Clash of the Titans, and the other Greek, legendary Greek myth story, Jason and the Argonauts, are all well within public domain. They're, fodder. They're available. So, they can use that material, make a film, and reap all the benefits of it without having to pay for story rights, which is, anything they can do on a low-budget film to keep the costs down is pretty typical of the way Hollywood would have to work in those days. And you can't blame them. Let them do what they got to do, I say. If it's there, it's available. If it's not, well, you got to pay to get a script done, right? And let's face it, they still have to have a script put together. They still need a story. They still need dialogue. They still need characters. Now, having Ray work on this one himself, you've got a couple of advantages. The film company probably either paid him very little or paid him off the books, and that's why he was uncredited, because maybe he didn't have a Writers Guild card or something of that nature. But the advantage Ray has by working on the script himself is that he gets to decide what the monsters are and where they come in. And I'll tell you what, some of these films we've been doing DM reviews on, the creatures don't get there until pretty late in the game, late in Act 1 or teased in the first half, and then not really much going on till the second half. And even then, there's a lot of filler material, people running from place to place to go from monster to monster. A lot of action in what we saw in the second half of Valley of Guanji. Once that gets going, as far as the monsters are concerned, the dinosaurs in that, once we get into the second half of that film, there's hardly any time where there aren't dinosaurs on screen, especially Guanji, the big T-Rex. With Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, they get to it pretty early. So, well, let's have a look. Let's have a little look-see here. We'll bring this over. There are some interesting title sequences here with some sort of cartoonish but very cool looking graphics at the front end of the film. We get, of course, Harryhausen's credit, and they mentioned animation in this film way up front in big letters, so at this point they obviously know that is a brand that helps sell a film, because putting that at the front is pretty much saying, hey, you've heard of this stuff, this is it, this is why you're here, get inside, have a seat, turn off your phones. No, they didn't say that back then. They didn't have to. People didn't bring their phones because you had to have a really long cord. Alright, anyway. Finally we meet Sinbad. He's at the helm of a ship. Once we get into the action, there's a bit of a fog. It's nighttime. It's dark. They're scared. They're at the ends of the earth, or so they say. He calls for them to take a sounding. They do so. They discover they're actually in fairly shallow water, so they slow it down. They spot land. But he goes and checks on his two guests. Yes, that's right. He's got a princess, and it turns out Sinbad in this is a son of a sultanate. So they are betrothed. That's her handmaid who's with them, Sadi. And she goes by Princess Parisa. He, of course, is Captain Sinbad, although they just generally call him Sinbad. And they prepare it. Anyway, he's wearing his Letterman jacket. I think it's important to mention that. Interesting hairstyles here. Lots of pearls. There's the princess in her coming out. But he checks on them, and lo and behold, they find an island. And it's a good thing because they're running low on food and water. So they're going to check it out. It seems like a pretty big place, pretty expansive. There are lots of dangerous rocks, though, so they got to be careful. That would have crushed their ship if they ran into it in the fog. Well, they find plenty of fruits and vegetables, assumingly melons, bananas. Not sure where this island is supposed to be. They are supposed to be Mediterranean sailors, traditionally speaking, so don't know about that, but it's an interesting longboat, too. Look at the figurehead on the front of it. No actual name, just a sort of a snaky design on this front, on the bow. So those are interesting little features. Is that a chicken? Is that a wattle? Is that a rooster? What do we got there? Not really sure, but I'll tell you what, it's interesting. And it could have been a plain boat. So DMing tip. Why not just go ahead and throw some stuff like that on there just to make stuff interesting? I'll tell you what. Here's a big DMing tip. If you have run some games, and you've run some games where you've hurried along, and you don't describe anything that isn't important, and then you try to slip something past the players. Inevitably, of course, it's the one thing you mentioned where you didn't say hallway, room, empty, hallway, room, empty, door, no traps, room, empty, empty, empty. Oh, and there's a couch in the corner of this room. Come on now. How, how do you expect that not to be so obvious, right? So throwing on features like this bow chicken neck thingy and this design as opposed to the name of a ship on the front, or maybe it's supposed to be symbolic of the ship. I don't know, but it's there and you can describe it. Excuse me, and it's interesting. There's actually two ships here. Look at the tails on both of them. I can't see what's on the head of this ship here. Probably should have checked that out while I was at it. But in any event, big DMing tip, give a lot of detail. Build it in. Have it ready in advance. Drop it like it's, like it's nothing. Because then when you mention that couch in that room later on, maybe it's just a couch. But then they find big cloven hoof footprint. Hoofprint? Hoofprint. And they follow them. This is, so the others were getting food. They'd split the party. Sinbad and a handful of the sailors, the ones with the stripy pants apparently, took their spears and they were out filling up the water casks, which is a good thing. And but they follow the footprints and they see a cave mouth with a carving above it to make it look like a giant head. And of course, Sinbad can't resist, so he goes to check it out. But as he goes to check it out, what should come running out but some bald-headed guy in a big black robe carrying a lamp and yelling, "Help, help, help." So he's screaming for help. So this is how we introduce NPCs without having to meet them in a tavern, right? Running away from a big old cyclop monster. Yeah. So this is pretty cool. This might be one of the coolest things that you will ever see. 1 second here while I check something out quickly, because I'm pretty sure I have something to show everybody. Yeah, here it is. Okay. Guess that'll work. There it is. Emperor's Choice. Let's see if you can read that. I have to tilt it down to keep the light off of it, right? Emperor's Choice. Big old Cyclops monster. Obviously, only 21. Solid pewter. Emperor's Choice, I think 70, or rather 99, 2001, somewhere in that period. In any event, this was from the Giants of Arduin series. It's by John Badger, Bager. No D, no double G, so I'm going with Badger. I think I've got a catalog around here somewhere that tells me this came out right around 2000. So this is about 20 years old. Retailed for about $25 when it was being sold. This is still in shrink wrap. This guy is about 4 inches tall. This is an extra one I've got. We're going to put that up for grabs at some point coming up soon. Maybe on Monday. Hey, if you're watching this, be sure to be in the Twitch channel on Monday at 9:30 a.m. Because this baby would make a nice little something for someone. I don't know. That's not the weekly thing. That'll be probably having to do with somebody that has something to do with the actual Harryhausen Day event on Monday. So, we'll talk about that later. In any event, moving on, watch out, giant cyclops, biggest beast there is, very nasty. Of course, he can take a few spears and pulls them out. He's got these guys just swinging at his legs with swords now. They're not doing a whole lot. But remember that lamp? So Sakura, we find out later his name is Sakura the Magician, runs around a corner, pulls out the lamp, says some magic words from the land beyond beyond, pulls forth the genie, who is a young boy, and he does a bunch of somersaults and turns into a rolling ball of flame which drags behind him a sort of a shield that goes between the Cyclops and the men trying to escape. So they get the chance to run away. They get out onto their longboat. They've taken their injured with them. He's very proud of himself. It ain't over. No, because Cyclops can't come through the thing. But the wording of the spell, if you check the player's handbook, doesn't say anything about large rocks not being able to go through. So he throws a rock and capsizes the ship, and they lose the lamp. Bummer. The Cyclops then, of course, once the lamp is lost, there's no master of the genie, and so the force field goes down. They still get away, but Cyclops goes out and retrieves his lamp and takes it back to his treasure. Not happy, Sakura, right? He came all this way, or at least came here, went into that cave mouth with the intention of getting the lamp, right? Because he's running out with it. So he wanted that lamp. He just wanted to save his beloved, of course. Well, gems, 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 gems. Let me buy your ship. Let's go back. Let's get my lamp. Nope, sorry, we're going to Baghdad. I'm betrothed. Taking the princess back to her dad there. We're meeting my father. We're all going to have ourselves a nice feast. We're all going to get together. Sinbad's dad. Baghdad princess dad. But, of course, the entertainment at the party has to be Sakura the Magician. What does he do? Well, we get a chance to see a little more interesting. And this, sadly, mainly because of the arms, just feels a little silly to me. But it's one of the early ones, right? Seventh Voyage of Sinbad, 1958. It's pretty early in the run for... It's the first Sword and Sandals, as we said. So he puts Sati, remember, the handmaiden, into this giant jar, casts a spell, there's some smoke, goes and gets an axe, smashes the vase, and out comes Sati, now transformed into a snake woman with these rubbery arms. She dances around for a little while, freaks everybody out. They're not so much amused as sort of disgusted and horrified. And he turns her back. Says, don't worry, she's unharmed. There's no problem. So he's got a number of tricks up his sleeves as a magician. This transformation thing. Of course, we only saw the genie with the lamp earlier, and that's the power of the lamp, not the magician. But safe and sound she is. However, he says something that pisses them off, and he gets exiled. Leave the city, don't come back. If we see you again, we'll have your head. Rather than leave directly, he slips out as if to leave. And later on, he sneaks around the palace and he gets to the princess's bedroom, casts a spell on her that night to make her tiny. Okay. GMing tips for this one? Well, you know, Sometimes you're going to have certain conceits you have to allow to happen. Obviously, if this is a adventure, then Sinbad and possibly some of his men, his heroes, his best men, the ones that stick with him throughout the entire film, would be the adventuring party. Would she be part of the adventuring party? Potentially. Right? She's with him start to finish in the film. She's integral to a number of things. If she's just an NPC, then she's baggage, and that's not cool. So we're thinking two things here. If she's an NPC, okay, then she's a story element, and the magician making her small and then it becoming a thing for them to deal with on a quest, okay. If she's a PC and the magician comes in and just, poof, you're small, well, fair game, right? Her father exiled him. Well, if he's an NPC, then we've got NPCs messing with each other, and the retaliation coming against a PC, maybe that's not cool either. I don't know. In any event, that's kind of the sequence here, and it's something we should be keeping an eye on as we consider various elements of this film for using in an RPG. In what way can we make them work in their best possible manner? So, small she is, discovered by our buddy Sinbad. Not knowing it was him, somehow, not guessing it was him, Sakura is then consulted. Oh, he's caught at the gate. Oh, no, you can't leave yet. I'll square it with the Sultan. He won't chop your head off. We just need your help again. Or is this the first time? I guess it is kind of the first time here. Well, he performed at the feast. I suppose that was something. Probably got paid, right? In any event, can you help make her not small again? Well, maybe. But there's a potion, he says, that requires the shell of a giant bird called a rock. Yep, 1958. Rocks are something of mythology, and they're using it in this movie. We need the shell. It's the one ingredient I don't have that will complete the potion that can make her big again, which is technically, I believe, called bigifying. Okay. So they agree. Well, what are we going to need? Well, we're going to need a ship. We're going to need men. Okay. Well, I got my loyal buddies who sailed with me. Won't be enough. Big ship. Need more men. We're also going to need your giant crossbow plans, by the way, which comes up at one point that he's worked out how to make a giant crossbow. Shades of our buddy from Game of Thrones, right? Able to kind of Da Vinci up some plans for big old weapons, too, not just a magician. Well, he's smart, right? That's part of being smart, is to be able to come up with deadly devices. Keep that in mind, DMing tip there, right? Your NBCs have multiple capabilities as long as their potential speaks to those outcomes. So if they're smart, they should be able to work on multiple things that smart people could work on. They're not just limited to spells, right? Anywho, where are we going to get more men? Well, I'll just go recruit some from the prison. We'll just get a bunch of people out of prison. I'm sure they'll jump at the chance to work a ship rather than be in prison. So what was the... well, that won't come back to haunt him. Let's go. Let's move on. So, they're all on the ship. They've loaded up the giant crossbow. The giant crossbow bolt is too big for there. Lash it to the mast, he says. Okay, very cool. Gotta go check on my bride. I've made a little box for her. so she can travel in this box and she'll be fine. And she's still my betrothed. Oh, mutiny! Well, who could have seen that coming, right? So the prisoner sailors mutiny, decide they want to take a ship in this other direction. It's not far from the island of Colossa, which is where the Colossus lives, and also where the Rock lives, by the way. In the mountains, way up high, is the nest of the Rock on the island of Colossa. Coincidence? I think not. Nearby is another island that now the wizard has told Sinbad, well, these idiots will probably go right by the island where they'll hear the song of the sirens, so they'll all die. But what about the ship? Oh, yeah, that's right, there's that. Well, there's a great storm. Yes, the sirens are calling. Everybody's going nutsarino. Fortunately, though, blocking his ears up or whatever, Sinbad saves the day. And even though the ship is in dire shape, he saves it off of the rocks and goes instead to the island of Colossa, where they then pull out the giant crossbow. Well, now, they've been informed by the magician that this isn't just a small cave. Remember, all that Sinbad and his crew saw was this guy running out of there just as Sinbad was going to enter this cave mouth. So they don't know if it's just one small cave with little bit of room enough for a Colossus, a Cyclops to be inside, right? So he's told them, obviously, that the cave is a gateway, transition cave between the beach and an interior valley, the Valley of the Cyclops. So this is the plan, is to get in there, go on through, and get into the valley, deal with the Cyclops so that we can then get up into the mountains and go get the eggshell of the Rock. Great plan. We'll set up the crossbow outside first, just in case we need to shoot something that's coming out of this cave mouth later on. What are the odds? And then, that's the valley, my son. Explains what's going on in the interior. He knows all the details. Don't forget, once we get the eggshell of the Rock, we got to take her back to my castle. That was part of the original deal. And but let's split up. I'll take 4 of the bloodthirstiest of prison pirates. You take the ones that you trust, and that way if either one of us gets captured, the other one can effect an escape or a rescue. It's an interesting plan that immediately assumes half of your group is going to be captured. Why would you think that? Why would he not ask? Sinbad comes off a little bit naive throughout this movie. More than a few times he does things or says things that make you think he's not the experienced adventuring sailorman that we all love to sing about or read about. In any event, that's the plan. We'll split up across. You go this way through the Valley of the Cyclops, and we'll go around the bend the other way, and we'll see what we can do. Okay, well, they go that way. Pretty soon there's evidence of the Cyclops in the valley, like this giant spiked club. There it is again, or it's a different one. He's got multiple weapons. And he's got cages full of skeletons. This ain't good. But there's a cave with a treasure in it. And in they go. And when they find that, of course, these other men, more of these prisoner pirates, are just going nutso. Oh boy, so excited, we're rich. In fact, I should mention, they mutiny at this point. Again. They decide when Sinbad says, "Hey, we got to get going. We can come back for the treasure. We got to deal with the things, the quest, the mission." They say, "Ah, well, I don't think so. You do it, or I'm gonna." And he pulls out his sword, and they take his sword away from him and throw him to the ground. Well, it's about that time that this stone hut that they're in, and see, the ceiling is flat, and it is an extra piece. The Cyclops lifts the top off of it and looks down in there as if he'd set this trap all along. Get them inside here. Now they're in the pen. I can collect them one at a time and put them into this cage. So he pulls them all out, throws them all in the cage. DMing tip: don't have to kill you right away to put you in danger, right? So could he just smash everything and then cook it up later? Sure. But don't they cook up so much better when they're yelling and screaming on the spit? Doesn't that make them taste better for Cyclops? I would think so. At least that's his plan. Look at the bones laying all around. This is like there must be shipwrecks all the time from the sirens, right? And then people coming to shore and then wandering into the valley looking for food and then becoming food themselves. I think that's wonderful. Well, Skura shows up. Hey, remember I said if we split up, we can help each other escape? Yeah, get the latch up there. Nah, I don't think so. I gotta go find that. Gotta go find that genie's lamp. You stay tight here. We don't want to tip him off. Then anybody. Hey, wait a minute. Okay, so he doesn't help them, but Sinbad brought the princess along. Now I didn't realize this earlier, but suddenly he pulls out her little box cheese grater thing, and out she comes and says, "Hey, can you get up there and go undo the latch?" Well, she tries. Can't do it the first time. Comes back, says, "I can't do it." Says, "You got to try. It's our only hope." She runs back. She works on it a little more. In the meantime, Sakura's men, who he left behind by this river and told not to drink from it because it's poison, are laying about. One of them, who was really, really thirsty, said, "What does he know? I'm drinking from it anyway." Reached into it. Turns out it's blood red. Starts to drink and says it's the finest wine. Tastes like the finest wine. All the rest of them start to drink it. Drink, drink, drink. They're all drunk on their asses. They didn't drop dead immediately, as Sakura warned them. They did get drunk. So now they're useless. These are the ones that Sakura had taken when they split the party, and he had left them behind to go so that he'd just go retrieve the lantern on his own and with stealth rather than take a bunch of meatheads with him. Maybe they're a rear guard, so if he gets chased, he can run right through them and let the Cyclops pick them up or whatever. So obviously Sakura at no point had any intention of going to get the egg shell. It was always his plan just to get back to the island so that he could get his lamp. And can you blame him? It's a pretty cool lamp. In any event, these guys are drunk. They're useless. Or are they? Well, I'll tell you. Well, what's his name and his buddies are struggling in the cage, Sinbad. And one of them's even on the spit, already being cooked. The drunks show up and start throwing their spears at the Cyclops. Well, a fight ensues, at which point they're all involved. But our buddy, the Cyclops, rips a tree out of the ground and starts crushing people with it. The spiked club not good enough for you anymore? Well, I'll tell you, it's a pretty neat effect. It looks pretty cool. So it's a lot of fun. Now they stick something in his eye, so he's wandering around kind of can't see for a little while at least. And they coax him closer and closer to the edge of a cliff. Sinbad being all clever, a regular Odysseus, and down he goes off the cliff. Well, they climb up the mountains, have a little bit of difficulty with some narrow paths and whatnot, but they get up to the nest at the top, and just in time for the hatching of a giant roc, which, by the way, they had not mentioned are two-headed giant birds. Well, that's the case for us in this particular movie, and it's pretty neat. It's a neat idea. Why not, right? You get a couple of attacks instead of one, harder to surprise, unless they're just freshly hatched. What do you think, Princess? Do we got a chance here? We got the eggshell. He's got it right in his hand. But I don't know if I trust Sakura. Well, let's find out about the lamp. Why don't you let me go in the lamp, she says. Great idea. You're tiny. Why not? Let's give it a try. She goes inside. She actually meets the genie. Well, here's information you would never have had if she didn't opt to go into the lamp. So, this is one of those situations, DM tip, right, where, good morning, Death Angel Shadow, how are you? This is one of those DMing situations where if they don't decide to go in there or to a place where you have some key information, do you force them to go? Do you let them continue to stumble along without the key information? What do you do? First of all, they needed information from him in regard to how to use the lamp, because so far only Sakura knows how to use it, and he had taken it off to the side to do so. So they don't know the magic words, right? This is why she originally goes into the lamp. However, while she's in there, she discovers two things. One, he doesn't want to be a genie in the lamp anymore. He wants to be free, but somebody who is master of the lamp has to use his real name. She gets his real name. She gets the magic words to use the lamp. Well, not just yet. Not until he explains that there's a poem that's attached to this whole free the genie thingy, shows it to him. When the big that is small, okay, well, that's the princess, shall again become tall, all right, well, okay, well, the spell is broken and she becomes regular size again, into fiery rock, to rise you must fall. So this is his poem. This is about him. So the lamp needs to be thrown in the fiery rock. Okay. Makes sense, but only after she's big again. Well, she works out the first part right away. This is good. I'm glad they didn't have the characters just look at this like blithering idiots and not pick up on it. Pretty neat, too. Just a backlit, cut-out thing with a little smoke in front of it, but it's meant to be a plate on the side of the lamp, right? But it's backlit, so we can make it glow when asked, what are you talking about, the rhyme or whatever? Well, it's this, and then woo, lights up, right? So that's a neat little effect you can throw into a game. Well, even as all that's going on, Mama Rock comes. I don't know how long they were up there. I would have thought it would be smart just to take a chunk of that shell and get out of there, and who cares about the baby rock? Why? But you see this over here? They apparently killed the, what are they, fledgling rock that just came out of the egg and cooked it up. So they must have been here for hours. Bad choice on the party, because here comes Mama Rock, as we said. She comes back, she fights them, she kills most of the sailors, and then deposits Sinbad. He's hung on to his lantern, and he hung on to his saber, but chucks him down into her nest for later. And Sakura and grabs the princess and takes off, even though he's still got the lamp. Well, maybe his intention is to tempt him to follow, draw him down, because, as it's explained at one point, rather late in the story, his castle is at the trail at the bottom of the mountain. So he's from this island all along. Bizarre. Just a bit of convenience for we don't have to show another ship scene, right? And I wonder when Ray was working that story if he wrote something in earlier about where these things were and then they get chopped for time or whatever, because it always seems like there's information coming a little late that doesn't make sense coming late. In any event, DM tip, make sure you give the information up front that they should be getting up front. When we're sailing back to get the rock egg, it shouldn't conveniently be on the island of Colossa. We should already know, if we know anything about Colossa. The magician should have said, hey, that's my island too. I usually don't go into the Valley of the Cyclops, but my castle's there, and I guard against those things. Oh, and by the way, there is an eggshell source on the same island. This should all be stuff that's told up front. If it's information they have, it shouldn't be given later as if it's an afterthought, right? In any event, maybe he didn't want him to know. I guess that's always possible. Aladdin summons the genie from the lamp, says, hey, you got to help me. They took that young woman you just met, and that sorcerer, magician, he's a bastard. Well, yeah, I'll meet you down there. His castle's at the bottom of the cliffs. I'll meet you down there. And then he disappears annoyingly. Can't you teleport both of them? No, maybe not. I don't know. He gets to keep the lamp. He goes down. The castle has an underground entrance. How he figured this out, I don't know. But the entrance is through a cavern. The entrance is also guarded by a fire-breathing drake. I call them drakes. Dragon. Wingless dragon is what I call it, a drake. So it's chained to the wall in there. And guess what? Well, this is easy. This is great to keep out the Cyclopses. It's pretty easy for anyone else to get through here because, hey, the genie just told me there's a wheel that you turn that pulls that chain and forces him up against the wall. Right? Just drags it through that hole there, and then he can't do anything. What do you mean he can't do anything? He can hit you with his tail. He can breathe fire. We saw him breathe fire. Well, apparently if his neck is up against the side of the cavern, that doesn't work. Still, cool-looking dragon. Bumpy skin, right? Nice set of teeth. Horns. Pretty good, pretty well made little model there. Well articulated in all the right places. He gets up into the castle and says, hey, make her big. Give me the lamp. Well, make her big first. I'll give you the lamp. Now give me the lamp first. I've already made the potion. Well, then just make her big. All right. I'll make her big. He makes her big. Says, give me the lamp. He says, okay, it's back over here where I stashed it. I'll go with you. Well, we've got to be able to be left. You got to let us get away, or it's not a deal. Okay. Well, as they're leaving, boom, summon skeleton. All right. Everybody knows the big scene from Jason and the Argonauts, right, where they're fighting multiple skeleton warriors. This was the first one. This was 1958. This was the first time we see a sword fighting skeleton. This is 1958. That's 62 years ago when we got to first see in Seventh Voyage of Sinbad an animated fighting skeleton. Oh, it's so cool. Lighting could have been a little better matched, but that's okay. They fight it out. They're up and down a spiral staircase. That's pretty cool. It's all just a lot of fun. He doesn't have a bludgeoning weapon, by the way, for those of you who play 3rd edition. All he's got is his saber. So he's only doing half damage in 3rd edition. Important to know. I'm not sure if that's true in 5th edition anymore. Was it true in 4th also? I'm talking D&D here, but whatever. Anyway, is one skeleton enough? Well, it's a lot to animate. I've seen some discussion and behind-the-scenes photographs from animating the multiple skeletons in Jason the Argonauts. What are there, 5, 6 of them? I forget. Anyway, that took a lot of work. Pretty cool. He fights it. He's unarmored. No armor, so, it's a pretty decent fight. But we're not talking about game balance here anyway, right? Kills that, tries to escape, gets to a bridge, has her with him. They have the lamp. They're going back on their deal about giving him the lamp because, remember, now, when she talked to the genie in the lamp, she said she'd do all they could to free the genie. So she's kind of obligated to do something about that too, right? In any event, here they are trying to get out now that since he attacked him with the skeleton, all bets are off, right? We're not going to give him the genie. They try to run out. He uses his crystal ball. He smashes the bridge that lets them escape. Now they have to figure out what to do. What do? They think, hey, let's call on the genie. Okay. The genie comes. The genie says, hey, remember the poem? Uh-oh. What big was this? What was small? What big became small is once again tall. Blah, blah, blah. You got to throw me into the molten lava river below. What? But we can't do that. Got to do it. It's what it said. It's the only way I'll be free. All right. Can you get us out of here? I can do something about that. Helps them out. They destroy the lamp. They're running out. There's our buddy, still up against the wall. So they're going to shimmy past here. Apparently no breath weapon. They get outside, and who's coming up on the cave mouth but our old pal, the Cyclops? Not dead, did not die, falling off the 100-plus foot cliff? No, apparently not. And his eye's better now, too, so watch out, so to speak. So now it's time for the big monster fight. So that's fun. Well, yeah, they're going at it. Resistance, assurances for types are combative 5e. Immunity is rarer. Oh, okay. Regarding what? What is that in reference to? Is that in reference to not the bludgeoning weapon thing? Not the fire? Throwing the lamp in the fiery thing? Or are we talking about falling for the Cyclops, Death Angel Shadow? Not sure what you're referencing there when you throw that in. But anyway, they fight it out. Eventually, Cyclops gets defeated. They run. They get outside the cave. The magician looses bludgeoning, piercing, soaking. Oh, okay. Soaking up damage too, huh? Very good. So slashing. Oh, phone. Yeah, I hear you. Autocorrect slashing as soaking. Yeah, pretty close. I could see that one. So the magician coaxes the drake out. It's busted its chain, which is a little weird part of the scene, but we'll let it go. They come out. Of course, they've got the crossbow set up. Remember the giant crossbow? Boom, shoot the drake. Drake falls down on top of magician, kills the magician, and they rush off the island. The drake stumbles after them, but still dies. They rush off the island. They get back on the ship. The genie boy was freed. Still has his powers, apparently, because he went and grabbed the Cyclops treasure and put it on the ship as a wedding gift. Isn't he nice? Now he's the cabin boy, according to his wishes. So that's pretty much it, right? We like the idea as a DM of using all that treasure for the Cyclops trap, so to speak, right? He's got the lid on that treasure room, which allows him to then pluck you out and put you into a cage to eat you later, which is pretty neat. Big creatures are great. Cyclops, gigantic. I like the furry legs and the hooves. We like the horn on his head. We like the wingless dragon, right? And we like the chain, the way of keeping it close and letting it loose. Although the breath weapon thing is a little bit of a um, continuity error for adventuring, right? Um, the withholding of information about what is where and the fact that it all winds up being on the island anyway. Um, these are the kind of things that we want to avoid in game, is doling out information that you would have expect to have been forthcoming earlier, if it was known and if it would have been useful. Why keep it to yourself? There is the possibility that Sakura had never intended to actually help them in the end, so didn't want his castle location to be revealed. Entrance to the castle through the underground cavern. Okay, is it really a castle? Is it a lair? Looks like a castle interior-wise. Is it all way back in the caverns? Could be. It's pretty neat though, right? You've got the entranceway, you've got the drake guarding, you've got the bridge across the river of lava, um, and then you've got the interior of the castle, and it's obviously multiple levels. We've got that cool spiral staircase in there too. Anyway, I think that just about covers all the stuff. We'll be looking forward later today at 5:30 p.m. to doing a DM review of the elements within Jason and the Argonauts. I want to thank everybody for checking this out, either here, following Death Angel Shadow in particular. Speak up in the stream chat when you do show up around here, so that you'll be automatically added to the weekly giveaway, as I'm doing with Death Angel Shadow as it is right now. Also, if you're... Oh, I just want to remind everybody, of course, that the reason we're doing all of this over the course of this weekend is because... Oop, there we go. Let's see, I need to do that. I need to do that. Is because it's Monday's Harryhausen Day. It's his 100th centennial. It would have been his 100th birthday. He died in 2013 at the age of 92. Great long life, great career. We love him. He is the special effects genius. If you got a Facebook account, just search up Harryhausen Day and click that you are going to be a part of it. You already are, because you're watching this. And on Thursday we did the 20 Million Miles to Earth, Mysterious Island. Yesterday it was 1 million years BC in the Valley of Ganges. These are the dinosaur movies. And then we're into the Sword and Sandal movies, starting today with this one, The Seventh Voyage of Sinbad. Jason and the Argonauts at 5:30 today. Tomorrow at 9:30 and 5:30, these are Central Times, we'll be looking at Golden Voyage of Sinbad and Sinbad and the Eye of the Tiger, respectively. And on Monday at 9:30 a.m., we'll finish up with Clash of the Titans. Again, I want to thank everybody who follows the channel and gets a chance to chime in on the chat when they do. I want to also thank everybody who catches up with this on YouTube. Please do subscribe, give us a thumbs up, maybe leave a comment if you feel like it. We can always use the feedback, and it is appreciated. So, you have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you at 5:30. Take care now.